Welcome to Storyflix. In this video, we will explain Perfect Proposal. This movie tells the story of a young woman who conspires with a casino employee to bilk a businessman out of his fortune. Will the two's devious plans work out, or will love instead grow between them? Let's find out in Perfect Proposal. Perfect Proposal begins in a bustling bar in Macau. It was at the bar that a Korean girl worked as a waitress. Despite being a university graduate, the girl, Yu Ziyin, is stuck working as a waitress because her friend stole her credit card, leaving her in heavy debt. That's why, when one night her co-worker shows her an advertisement for a job as a nanny for a rich old man, Ziyin decides to apply, even though she's not really interested. After all, she needs money to pay off her debts, and the rich old man, Kim Sok-gu, promises a hefty salary for anyone willing to be his nanny. However, the old man was the chairman of the gambling corporation that owned half of the casinos in Macau. A few days later, Ziyin visits the job interview location at a luxury hotel. There, she was met by Kim Song-yeol, the illegitimate son of Kim Sok-gu. The two of them then have the interview, where Song-yeol lays out the system and rules of working as his father's nanny, while Ziyin explains how she got into debt because her friend stole her credit card. She admits that her motivation to apply was to earn money. At the end of the interview, Song-yeol asks Ziyin to meet him again at 7 to discuss more about her future job. When night falls, they meet again at a restaurant. But the conversation that was supposed to be purely business suddenly turned into something unexpected. It turns out that Song-yeol wants to ask Ziyin to be Sok-gu's wife so she can get his fortune. Song-yeol himself can't get an inheritance since he is Sok-gu's illegitimate son. And so, if the plan works, Song-yeol requests that Ziyin divide the inheritance between the two of them. However, Ziyin thinks Song-yeol's plan is insane and rejects it outright. And with that, she left the restaurant. But not long after, doubts clouded her mind. How can she not? She desperately needs money, and Song-yeol offers her a way out. So in the end, she agrees to follow Song-yeol's plan. The next day, Song-yeol takes Ziyin to a beauty salon, where she has her hair cut short. Not only that, but he also bought her clothes. She does look more attractive and elegant after the makeover. But apparently Song-yeol has one other intention. He wants to change Ziyin's appearance to resemble Sok-gu's late wife, who died in an accident. Besides taking his wife's life, the accident also left Sok-gu paralyzed. After changing her appearance, Ziyin begins her mission to win Sok-gu's heart while serving as his nanny. She only had a month to do so as they sailed on a yacht from Macau to Busan. Arriving at the yacht, Sok-gu's servants and crew greet Ziyin, and none of them are not impressed by her sight. There was only one person who seemed less affected. It's Sok-gu. He even gets angry and grumbles that Ziyin came late. But then she responds to his scolding firmly, asking him to treat her politely. Sok-gu looks a little taken aback, seeing how she responds to his scolding. Freed from Sok-gu's nagging, Ziyin is invited by one of the maids, Yu-mi, to tour the ship and get acquainted with the other maids. Yu-mi acts very friendly to her and even encourages her to stick around working as Sok-gu's nanny. Afterward, Ziyin lies in her new room, daydreaming about how she'll be able to get Sok-gu's fortune if her and Song-yeol's plans go well. But a few hours later, she chose to spend time at the stern and enjoy the sunset. Song-yeol also seems to have the same thoughts as her, and the two of them then engage in a conversation about Sok-gu. Ziyin is curious about the behavior of Sok-gu, who in her eyes, looks like he really hates life. Sok-gu didn't deny her guess. Sok-gu hates women, not only life because he thinks all women are the same. They are only after his money. The next day, when Ziyin checks Sok-gu's blood pressure, he asks her to give him the key that she pocketed. But knowing that the key opened the drawer with the cigarettes in it, she refused to give it, which infuriated him. He then offered his money and a diamond necklace for her to hand over the key. But she persisted in refusing. This is the first time Sok-gu has come face to face with someone who dared to disobey his orders, and he dislikes it so much that he orders Ziyin out of his room. But when she is only a few centimeters from the door, he throws a plate at the door, taking her by surprise. Terrified, she exits his room to meet Song-yeol. She worries that Sok-gu will fire her. But Song-yeol calms her down, saying that the game has just begun. The days pass, and Ziyin plays the role of the nanny very well. And despite still being haughty, Sok-gu begins to open up to Ziyin. He had found a nanny that suited his type, someone who is persistent and fussy, much like his late wife. Ziyin can even get him to play the piano again, a hobby he hasn't done since his family died in an accident. But ironically, it's not Sok-gu that Ziyin loves. She secretly begins to love Song-yeol because after all, he is often near her whenever they are free from their daily routine. When she wanted solace one night, she looked for Song-yeol. They then chatted in a quiet corner of the ship, raising suspicion for anyone who saw them. Sure enough, one of Sok-gu's servants, Khan, quietly listens in on their conversation. While Sok-gu was fishing, he caught a big fish a few days later. The fish was so big that Sok-gu was dragged and hit the ship's edge. Panicked, Ziyin immediately orders Khan to cut Sok-gu's fishing line. But, instead of thanking him, Sok-gu lashes out at Khan. As punishment, he gave Khan two choices: jump into the sea and grab the fish, or eat the piece of meat he threw on the floor. Khan chose the second option. No one tries to stop Khan, except for Ziyin. But Sok-gu takes that as defiance against him. As a result, he kicks Ziyin off her yacht after throwing plates of food at her, making her clothes dirty. Ziyin finally gets off the yacht and stays at a motel. But that night, Song-yeol comes to her room to persuade her to come back to the yacht. He even threatens to find a replacement for her because Ziyin, fed up with Sok-gu's behavior, keeps refusing to return. Meanwhile, Sok-gu is opening an album of old photos accompanied by the ship's captain. The captain says that Ziyin is very similar to Sok-gu's late wife in the sense that they both hate it when Sok-gu acts harshly on his subordinates. Unexpectedly, the next day Sok-gu comes to Ziyin and not only to invite her back but also to propose to her. Without having to think twice, Ziyin accepts his proposal. On the wedding night, which is also held on a yacht, Sok-gu tells Ziyin the Cinderella story. He feels Ziyin has something in common with Cinderella, and because of that, he calls her Cinderella. But the nickname doesn't impress Ziyin because she reunites with Song-yeol at the stern after the party, and they spend some quality time together. The following day, much to her horror, Ziyin finds Sok-gu dead in bed with his eyes open. Panicked, she immediately covers his face with the blanket, then calls Song-yeol. Before long, Song-yeol arrives in the room, and upon seeing his father's corpse, he explains that the inheritance will only be obtained after they get a death certificate in Busan, where Sok-gu lives. Hearing an explanation about the death certificate does not relieve Ziyin's anxiety. After all, they don't know who killed Sok-gu yet. She is even about to go to the police if only Song-yeol doesn't stop her. They can't act recklessly, so Song-yeol suggests that they cover up Sok-gu's death and act normal until they arrive in Busan. Then, they dress Sok-gu in such a way as to make him look as if he's still alive. But Sok-gu's subordinates aren't stupid. They suspected that something was wrong with their boss. Even the Kim family driver was suspicious. Regardless, Ziyin tries her best to act like everything is fine. She reasons that Sok-gu keeps quiet and is dressed oddly because he has a cold and wants to rest. Therefore, she did not let anyone to disturb or touch him. When they arrive at the Kim family residence in Busan, one of the first things Song-yeol instructs Ziyin is to feed Sok-gu via a tube so they can manipulate the timing of his death. Even though she was overcome by panic and fear, she did as she was told. However, their actions are eventually suspected by Sok-gu's loyal secretary, Hae-jin, who secretly reports her suspicions to the police. Sometime later, Song-yeol tells Ziyin that he will send his trusted notary to have a death certificate drawn up. But before the notary arrived, the police that Hae-jin called arrived first. And the purpose of their arrival is none other than to arrest Ziyin on charges of murder against Sok-gu. In the interrogation room at the police station, the interrogator shows her the hose that has been used as evidence that she was trying to hide Sok-gu's death. Cornered, she asks the police to call Song-yeol since he can explain what really happened. Song-yeol was then summoned, but unfortunately, he betrayed her. In front of the police, he accuses Ziyin of being a cold-blooded killer who took his father's life. Shocked at being betrayed like that, she fell unconscious. When Ziyin wakes up, she finds Song-yeol beside her, as if nothing had happened between them before. Of course she is angry and questions the reason behind his lie. While putting on a sinister and annoying smile, Song-yeol says that he killed Sok-gu. It's true. If Sok-gu dies, his inheritance will go to his wife. However, if his wife is proven ineligible to receive the inheritance, Song-yeol is entitled to receive it. He had planned all of this from the start, and Ziyin was nothing more than a tool he used to achieve his lofty goals. Ziyin is not only shocked to hear Song Yeol's exposition, but she is also very disappointed because the man she loves ends up betraying her. As if the situation couldn't worsen, Song Yeol then gives the police a voice recording of Ziyin cursing at Sakgu when she was kicked off the yacht to defend Khan. However, Ziyin did not immediately give up. She thought of Khan and the people around Sakgu. She then asks the police to meet Hai-jin. When they finally meet, Ziyin begs Hai-jin to be allowed to attend Sakgu's funeral. And as we might expect, there's no way Hai-jin would grant her request. But just as Hai-jin is about to leave the room, Ziyin tells her Sakgu's version of Cinderella. Hai-jin stopped walking as soon as she heard that. And after Ziyin finished, Hai-jin then immediately called a lawyer to release Ziyin so she could attend Sakgu's funeral. It turns out, Sakgu only tells the Cinderella story to people he trusts. Sometime later, Ziyin tries to see Khan because she has a feeling he knows something. But in the middle of her search, she meets Yu-mi, who is holding Fu-si, Sakgu's dog. Unexpectedly, a hidden camera was attached to the ribbon Fu-si was wearing. Sakgu can keep an eye on what's happening on the yacht through that camera. Even so, Ziyin still doesn't know about the hidden camera. Yu-mi then gives Ziyin a gift containing Sakgu's tablet. But because she's focused on finding Khan, Ziyin ignores the tablet. And a few moments later, the police arrested her again because she looked like she was about to escape their surveillance. Meanwhile, the package containing the tablets was brought by a police officer. Khan is now seeing Song Yeol to tell him about the hidden camera on Fu-si's ribbon. The camera, Khan thought, might hold information that could be used to reveal the truth about Sakgu's murder. On the night that Sakgu was murdered, Fu-si was in his room with him. And the ribbon in his head records how Song Yeol killed Sakgu. Since Khan knew about the hidden camera, he couldn't be allowed to live. The same day he told Song Yeol about the secret camera, he was found dead. The killer is of course Song Yeol. Afterward, Song Yeol calls Yu-mi to retrieve Fu-si. She innocently agreed to meet him on the ship. Meanwhile, in the car carrying Ziyin, the police open Sakgu's tablet and find Ziyin's photos inside. She now realizes the hidden camera on Fu-si's ribbon, and she worries that Yu-mi will be in danger. She immediately tried to take the police cell phone without wasting any time and ran away from the car. After that, Jae-in calls Yu-mi to ask about her whereabouts. When Ziyin calls her, Yu-mi is already on the boat with her boyfriend. Ziyin tries to tell her that Fu-si is the key to revealing all of Song Yeol's crimes. But she was too late. Song Yeol is already in front of Yu-mi. He then hits Yu-mi's poor boyfriend, who doesn't really know anything. Alone, Yu-mi can't do anything but get hit on the head until she faints. Meanwhile, Fu-si then run away from Song Yeol. While Song Yeol is busy looking for Fu-si, Ziyin manages to sneak up behind him. Then, she hit him hard on the head using a golf club, and Ziyin takes the opportunity to take Fu-si into hiding. After playing hide and seek for a while, Song Yeol was finally able to find Fu-si. But it turns out that the ribbon on the dog's head has already been taken by Ziyin, who has already run away. Song Yeol immediately chased and managed to catch her. Ziyin is no match for him. He could easily throw her on the floor and then strangle her, making her gasp for breath. Fortunately, in this critical situation, Yu-mi came to her senses. She grabs a fire extinguisher and slams it into Song Yeol's head. With just one hit, he passed out. In the end, they managed to get their hands on the footage of Sakgu's murder. Ziyin is cleared of all charges, and she also regains her right to inherit Sakgu's property. On the other hand, Song Yeol must now languish behind bars in prison. But at the end of the film, Ziyin visits Song Yeol in prison because she has two questions that still haunt her. First, she's still curious why he had to kill Sakgu, even though she genuinely wants to help him carry out his plan. It turns out that Song Yeol's reason is out of revenge. Long ago, Sakgu left his mother when she was dying. Then, the second question is, has Song Yeol not had any feelings for her all this time? Song Yeol says that he never loved her, nor did he ever think that Ziyin fell in love with him. But at least he has made her Cinderella. Hearing that, Ziyin just smiled and left him. The moral message we can take from this film is, don't trust people too easily, especially if they promise to give us profit or wealth in an easy way. Always doubt every sweet promise we hear.